Easy Explain, The Stoicism of Marcus Aurelius, Part 1 of 5, Introduction. So we're going to continue looking at Stoicism here, but now through a different lens. That lens is going to be that of Marcus Aurelius. You may have heard of him. Pretty famous figure in our history. So we're actually still in the AD period of time here. We're not technically BC, although it is about 2,000 years ago if we look at the lifespan of Marcus Aurelius. Born in 121 AD, died in 180 AD. Lived a pretty solid life there, right? 59 years old. And what was he known for? Why could you have heard of him? Well, he was a Roman emperor at the time. This was the time of the Roman Empire. And he was also a Stoic philosopher. He has a pretty well-known, pretty famous book known as the Meditations. And this is divided into 12 different books, 12 separate books. And he actually kept this as a diary of sorts. He didn't mean for this to see public eyes. He didn't mean for this to get out into the world. But it did after his passing. And we're glad it did, because there are some really impressive Stoic insights through his collection. It's a really cool lens to look at, because it's from the standpoint of being an emperor. Right? We first saw Stoicism through the lens of Epictetus, who was not an emperor. He was a freed slave become teacher. So Marcus has a very different standpoint that he applies Stoicism through, which makes it all the more interesting. It really gives us a fresh lens to look at it through. But that's not to say that we're completely departing from Epictetus. In fact, Marcus Aurelius himself was directly influenced by the works of Epictetus. He was a huge fan of both the Discourses and the Handbook. So there are going to be some differences here. Right, so if you're asking yourself, why should I now study the Stoicism of Marcus Aurelius? I already know Stoicism through Epictetus or maybe through Zeno of Stoa. Right, why is the Stoicism of Marcus different? Well, as mentioned, we're approaching this through a very different life. Difficult life, but in very different ways from the difficulties that Epictetus faced. But imagine the challenges that you face of being an emperor of thousands of people across the world at that time. So we find a lot of consolation in the Meditations of Aurelius and a lot of encouragement. And for a lot of people, this is very inspiring to hear what Marcus has to say. But still, maybe you don't think there's anything to gain here, right? Maybe you think you already have a very solid handle on Stoicism. So what are we going to find? We're actually going to find quite a bit of divergence from Epictetus. Maybe if you had a problem with some parts of the Stoicism of Epictetus, you might see some resolve in what we'll get into with Aurelius. So this series is going to be broken up into 5 parts total. The next 4 parts, we're going to look at 3 books of the Meditations at a time. 3 books per video. I know it's a daunting task, but I think we'll just look at some key highlights and sum it up from there. I hope this helps.